Hey everyone, welcome back to 5 Drinks or Midnight, Quarantine Edition. Today, we're talking to Rob Caldwell, the Global Brand Ambassador from Teeling. But before we do, like and subscribe. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. 5 Drinks or Midnight, 5 drinks, 5 questions, midnight, whatever comes first. Thanks so much. How you doing?
Hey Tim, how you doing? I'm doing really well. How are you?
Excellent. It's a balmy day here in New York, but summertime's coming, so that's good. So thanks so much for joining us. What's our first drink?
Well, thank you for having me. Today we're going to do just a nice highball, easy drinking. You said summer's on the way. Summer's in effect here. We're getting some lovely days. I think it was 25 there yesterday, which is 77 degrees Fahrenheit, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, lovely warm day. So we're going for a highball, something nice and long. Excellent. So this is the Teeling small batch here. So rum finished Irish whiskey, a hint of pineapple cordial, and then a nice big splash of soda water with a squeeze of lime. Super simple.
Cheers, my friend.
Ding. Cheers, Sip.
Oh, that's good. That's a good summer drink.
Yeah, it just so happens to coincide with this release that we've got coming up, the Teeling whiskey highballs.
Oh.
We did a canned version for over here in Europe. I'm sorry, I can't get you any. But next time.
I might be off. I got my sources. We'll figure it out.
Fair enough.
Excellent. All right, so question 1. How does a guy from Byron Bay, Australia become Teeling's global brand ambassador?
Do you want the short answer or the long? We've got till midnight, right?
Yeah, we've got till midnight, so.
Okay. So I was a young kid in Australia. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was playing for, sports, so rugby league, rugby union, AFL, whatever I could get my hands on. And I was in high school, didn't really take it very seriously. Where I grew up, you could take surfing as a sports subject. As long as you could prove that you could swim in the ocean, to an extent where not only can you swim, you can save other people, you could take surfing as a subject. So that enabled a lot of people to take a lot of free time. So not a lot of people took school seriously. So yeah, I kind of fell into the bar industry. It was just like stand on a door, be a security guard, and make some money when you're 17, 18 years old. I'm like, sure, why not? It was boring. Standing on a door as an 18-year-old kid. They didn't put you on the front door, they put you on the side door and just tell you people to go around the front. So yeah, I was kind of bored, moved into the bar and never left the bar. Started bartending now 18 years in multiple countries, both sides of Canada, both East Coast and West Coast, traveling around South America, Central America, London, back to Sydney, back to London, up to Manchester, and then moved to Dublin in 2011, and that's where I fell in love with an Irish girl and an Irish whiskey. And to fast forward a few years, after running some Dublin cocktail bars, I obviously met Jack and Stephen Teeling in 2012. Big fan of their whiskey when they released the Teeling small batch, and the predecessor to my job, Kevin Hurley, good close friends of his, worked with him in many ventures over the past. We established the Irish Craft Cocktail Awards together. So when he hung up his whiskey warrior boots, he put me forward for it. And it was something that I wanted to grasp in both hands. So I took a month off work, put together a presentation, learned everything I could about Teeling, the category, Irish whiskey. I've been a big whiskey fan personally my whole life. So yeah, something I'm very proud to be involved with, speaking on behalf of Teeling whiskey, the Irish whiskey category, on a global scale. It's a dream job.
Awesome. What came first, falling in love with whiskey or your girlfriend?
Probably whiskey first, because I hadn't met her, although I hope she's not listening. No, probably whiskey and Irish whiskey first. Moved to Ireland. I had worked in some pretty interesting bars across the world, probably none more so than a Scotch bar called the Highlander in Ottawa in Canada. And the owner said to me, he said, I want you to try a different whiskey every night of the week. And that's where I really developed a love for Scotches and and things like that. But I moved to Ireland and tried single pot still and tried some Irish whiskies. I was like, yeah, I'm all in. I was a big advocate when I went back to Australia for a year, and I'm telling them, like, why aren't you guys drinking more Irish whiskey? You look back through my Instagram and you can see Teeling posts from well before I worked for the company. So, but then a girlfriend came along, and now 7 years. Again, I hope she's not listening, but years.
Well, excellent. Well, cheers to that, my friend.
Cheers, Tim.
Good. All right. Well, that's question 1. So simple, easy, nothing painful at all. On to question 2. What are we drinking?
We are drinking the Newmarket Fashion. So this is a riff on an old fashioned, a new old fashioned, if you were. Newmarket is the square in which our distillery is located. So very kind of historical square in Dublin, famous grain trading square, and right smack bang in Dublin. So we need a riff on an old fashioned that kind of rings true to Teeling small batch and the unique characteristics of this particular whiskey. So we kind of wanted to lean into a little bit more of the dark spice. So we've got a lovely old fashioned, a good healthy measure of Teeling small batch. We in the distillery put a little bit of pimento dram, those darker spices, a little bit of spiced rum, because they've got their own inherent sweetness rather than just the lashing of sugar. A little bit of honey from the roof of our distillery. So we have bees on the roof of our distillery, so we get using natural earthy.
Bees on top of the distillery. I did not know that. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. The local beekeeper named Ollie is actually going to be on the Teeling whiskey page, the Facebook page there, Thursday, I think, talking with our European brand ambassador about some of the partnerships we do and how the honey pairs with whiskey. So and then nice, lovely whiskey, old fashioned. We're trying to kind of transition some of our distillery cocktails for use at home. So instead of your cocktail bitters, I shave some nutmeg, a little bit of cinnamon, and some dark chocolate into the sugar syrup or to the honey syrup. So basically just boiling water, honey, and those spices, stir them up while they're boiling water, and then that was my sweetener for this one.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Cheers.
Cheers, Tim.
So question 2, Teeling is known for bringing new and innovative methods into making whiskey, but also flavors. What's a new flavor or technique that you'd want to see Teeling do next?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot out there that I didn't actually get from Teeling and from Alex Chasko, from Jack and Stephen Teeling. Obviously, I try and give my input, but these guys are very skilled individuals when it comes to doing a lot of experimentation. I've talked to Alex about, I think it was Stanford University or maybe MIT, one of the very prestigious schools in the US, was talking about genetically modified yeast strains to simulate the flavors of hops, to kind of distance themselves from using dry hops and things like that. It was really interesting, and he's way above my head in terms of understanding of the category. He started talking about the different subspecies and strains of yeast. It was really interesting. We use a combination of distiller's yeast for a nice lovely yield, and white wine yeast to provide lovely kind of passion fruit and pineapple esters. But there's a whole kind of variance of flavor you can play with there. We're doing specialty malts, so crystal rye, your chocolate porters, your peated malts, your combination malts, so malted and unmalted barley, and you've got a lot of room to play with. But casks and cask influences, I think, is easily dismissed into the kind of finishing category, and I think there's so much flavor to play with there as more and more casks are being utilized in more and more wood strains, meaning more and more seasoned casks, and it's exponentially growing. We've really only scratched the surface on the influence that casks can have on whiskey. We've done probably one of the more kind of interesting ones we did was a gin finished Irish whiskey, where we learned that it was this lovely Finnish rye gin. So rye gin made from Finland or in Finland. It really almost overpowered the whiskey in the first kind of 2-3 weeks, and we were like, what have we done? We've just made a whiskey that tastes like gin. But then the longer it was in the cask, so 8-9 months, you started to see a lot more of those wood tannins and esters coming back in, and those are those kind of flavors that we associate with whiskey, which is probably why not too many white spirits age for long periods of time in casks, because it starts to veer down those flavors that we do associate with whiskey. But we did learn from like 2 weeks to 8 months maybe was that optimum time for that one specific aged gin. So then how does that flavor profile come into, play in amongst other grain types or influence types? So yeah, it's kind of like creating a big cookbook. What Alex is doing is, every time we use, and we've used up to 100 different casks. Every time, it's not just to create something unique and interesting. He's also compartmentalizing and compiling that flavor into a category. So in the future, say we do a rye-based distillate, and you make it and you age it, it's missing a certain something. We know where to go to find that missing flavor. So I think, obviously I've got interesting ideas and probably won't share them because hopefully they'll get made one day. But no, it's really interesting to see that in effect and see that process of, Alex creating these unique and interesting things and going, oh, wow, that's really interesting. What if, and then grabs another whiskey, puts them together and then balances it out and goes, oh, try this, and like mind blowing. So yeah, I think that that kind of highlight or spotlight put on the the importance of blender and how there's no real science to blending. It's really just one person's interpretation of these flavors and how they balance together. I think that's really interesting. So the more we start to see alternative wood types, so you start to think of, what if we had a chestnut cask that was influenced by akavit? What does that do to Irish whiskey? And acacia casks, or virgin acacia casks, as the initial maturation point. So you put an unaged distillate into a virgin acacia co-cask and then finish it in a third fill bourbon barrel, where that's not going to overpower that initial impact, but it is going to soften the astringent edges maybe a little bit. So yeah, really interesting kind of future to the category. And yeah, like I said, we've only really scratched the surface so far. So bright future for the Irish whiskey category.
Yeah, and it's actually, and the reason why I asked the question is it's because it's one of my favorite things about what you guys do is you're not sticking to that normal kind of, oh, it's got to be in a bourbon, a used bourbon barrel. Like you guys are really kind of gone crazy and not in a bad way, but like you're always coming up with something different and like just really innovative, and it's super cool to see. And that's where, like, I just love anytime Teeling kind of comes out with something new. It's always really
that's the thing. Like, you ask Alex, you ask Jack, you ask Stephen, what is the core DNA? Are you guys a double distilled malt producer? It's like, no, we produce great whiskey. There is a lot of different whiskeys out there from around the world. It's a very geographically unique category in that every country has a different understanding of what they deem whiskey to be, and there's some truly fantastic whiskeys from many different countries, and from maize mash bills and ryes and malted and unmalted barleys and ex-bourbon casks, sherry casks and the like. And I think starting to kind of see how they mingle and become something new is the beauty of the loose classification around Irish whiskey, in that we can still make some amazing Irish whiskies that are different and unique, that also have a link towards the past. And I'm talking about single pot still Irish whiskey having that kind of unique spiciness, but also the freedom within maturation types. Putting single pot still into new virgin American oak casks, for example, provided this really, really lovely nose, but didn't lose any of the fabulous spicy mouthfeel.
Yeah, amazing. Well, cheers to that. I look forward. I hope whatever you have in your head, it gets made, because I'm looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a very long-winded answer, and I didn't really answer the question. There's some things there that I'd like to see the light of day. That's a better one. There's some things in the warehouse that I've tried that I really look forward to bringing out to the public one day. And there's a few left of center ideas that you want to see get made as well.
Question 3. What are we drinking?
We're drinking Teeling and tonic. So we went with another highball, given it's warm weather, but we went for a different whiskey. So we went with the Teeling single grain. So a predominantly corn-based whiskey, so 95% non-genetically modified corn, column distilled and aged in Californian Cabernet Sauvignon casks. So you've got a little bit of a lightness there, a little bit, lovely caramel, silky butterscotch of the whiskey, non-chill filtered, 46% ABV. And then the tannic quality of the skins of red grapes coming from a Californian Cab Sav. Nice top it with tonic water, and then bringing back that kind of tartness with a little bit of squeeze of pink grapefruit.
Ooh, excellent. Well, cheers to you.
Launcher.
So question 3.
Right.
What you talked a little bit about a former employer making you try different whiskeys every night. What would be your desert island whiskey of choice?
Wow. That's a tough one. I mean, like I like to try different whiskeys on different days. I definitely find myself, having a hankering for bourbons, and I like scotches, and I like Islay scotches. I like a lighter scotch. I'm partial to the, some of the Auchentoshan range and stuff like that. But I think that the Teeling 24-year-old for me has to be my desert island whiskey. I mean, I have yet to find a day where I haven't enjoyed it, if you know what I mean. Like, there's no whiskey I don't enjoy, but sometimes I don't want something really, really smoky. Like, I love Ardbeg, but I wouldn't want it today on a nice summer's day. I'd maybe like it, a different time of day. But the Teeling 24, I think, just any time of day, anywhere, it's reliable. It's fantastic. There's a reason it won World's Best Single Malt. I think that has to be my desert island whiskey. And maybe I'm biased, maybe not, but that's definitely, right up there.
No, that's a fucking good whiskey. So it's a good one to have on an island. I'll tell you that much. That's I learned the word groll. So it's an Irish term for like love. So when you describe that whiskey, you have a growl for it. So like that's
nice.
I don't know.
I like it. Not too many out there now anymore. I mean, luckily we're moving on to the 28-year-old, which is the big brother of the 24-year-old. Yeah. But I've still got a squirreled away bottle of the 24 for special occasions.
I wish I kept mine a little bit longer, but I think I finished it around March. So like I did a bottle kill on March. So it's kind of
easy to do right now.
Yeah, it's just
luckily mine's in a storage cabinet, so I can't get at it.
There you go. That's so that's a much better solution. So yeah.
Yeah, the smart option.
It's I have a few bottles that are, one put away in a safe and then two hidden like in the way back of the whiskey cabinet. So like if I really want it, I have to take everything else out to get to it. And then lately that's just been way too much work. So like it's got to stay back there. So it's
What's your desert island whiskey?
Barry Crockett. So the Middleton Barry Crockett has been, I don't know, it's just something that I've absolutely loved from day one. Like that is just, I could drink that nonstop. Like I don't think, like you said, there hasn't a day gone by that I can't. Like if someone were to be like, "Oh, here's a Barry Crockett," and be like, "Oh, again?" Like it's just, yeah. All right, on to question 4.
Cool.
What's our next drink?
The next drink we have is from the distillery menu. So this is called the Caramel Cold Brew. So it's kind of like it sits somewhere between an espresso martini and an Irish coffee. So again, lovely warm weather. We want to, enjoy a colder version of an Irish coffee. This is where we're going with. So it's Teeling small batch again. I made a salted caramel syrup. So homemade salted caramel syrup with butter, sugar, and salt, and a little bit of water to keep it somewhat of a liquid consistency. Some stout, so dot brew stout. So I reduced that down and kind of almost made that a little bit sickly and sticky, sorry. And put that in with the salted caramel syrup, some lovely coffee, shaken, and yeah, here we go. Caramel cold brew.
Cheers, my friend.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we sometimes use stout syrup in the distillery on in our Irish coffees. You know, the hot version of the Irish coffees. So really kind of translates well with the Teeling small batch. So reduced stout, cinnamon, cloves, pimento, star anise, and vanilla. Reduce that down with some demerara sugar. And that's our sweetener for our Irish coffee. So kind of some of those flavors translate into our cold version.
Very nice. It's damn good.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, question 4. Almost done. Not even close to midnight. But
what do you mean? We've got a blow time for 6 more hours.
Yeah, there we go.
Wait, your midnight or my midnight?
I whatever comes first. Okay, so as a former barman and co-founder of the Irish Whiskey Cocktail Awards, what do you look for when judging a cocktail?
I mean, the easy answer is balance. You know, is it balanced? Because you look at a menu and you usually see a base ingredient. You can kind of judge where their kind of start point was. In some cases, anyway, there's usually some kind of modifier, something to bring it together, either a citrus element or some kind of homemade element. So you want to see how those things interact. You don't want to see it too heavily swayed in one direction unless it's designed that way. You go to a cocktail menu and there's a section in it where they really focus 2 or 3 drinks and on their homemade ingredients. So the one I'm thinking about is a Superline in London, or what did Dandelion become again? Anyway, so they did like a section of drinks around this banana flavor that they were using that they'd made. So it's basically extrapolating that out into numerous ways. So you could sense that that's what they were focusing on, where you go to another bar, say, and it's just a tertiary ingredient. It's the last on their list of ingredients in the cocktail. So it's, starts with whiskey and then citrus and so on and so on and so on. At the very end, you've got, a banana or something, and that's all you taste in the final product. It's kind of incongruous. You know what I mean? There's no balance to it. It's not a story being told. Why did they use whiskey? Was it a monetary reason? Was it designed to be showcased in the finished product? Because all I'm really getting is this, this last flavor that you added, and a lot of it. So yeah, I think balance is pretty important. With all cocktails, it comes right back to a daiquiri or those really kind of 3 ingredient cocktails that really kind of showcase those ratios.
Yep.
And the harmony. A lovely, well-made daiquiri. I make my whiskey sours like a daiquiri, and it's just whiskey, citrus, and sugar, and that's it. Just really kind of showcasing that crisp nature of the balance of the 3. So yeah, that's probably the most important thing. Secondly is innovation, but there's times you go to a dive bar, you're not looking for innovation, you're looking for a well-made cocktail, like a well-made Sazerac or an old-fashioned Manhattan Boulevardier, Negroni, anything like that. You want it to be balanced. So no matter where you are in the world, so not always looking for innovation, not always looking for esoteric, but 98% of the time you're looking for balance. You're looking for something that works well, something you want a second and a third, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I'd have to say easy answer, balance.
Do you have a cocktail that you judge? Like if you're going into a new bar, do you have a cocktail that you order that is to judge the barman?
I know of people that do that. A good friend of mine judges with a Martinez, and yeah, so that's his kind of gauge of a bar. If they can make him a good Martinez, he'll try their cocktails. But I know where you're coming from. No, not really. Like I'll generally give bartenders we've all had off days. I still remember the time where I was working in a quite well-known bar in England and forgot to put sugar in my mojito, just absent-mindedly, just forgot to put it in. And they came back and complained and said, "This is the worst mojito I've ever had in my life." And I tried it. I was like, you know what? It is. I'm sorry. I screwed up. And, I'd like to say that I can make a damn good cocktail, but in that one instance, I screwed up.
All right. So, 5th question, final question of the night. Do you have your Whiskey Wednesday coin?
I do, yep. Which one do I need? The gold one or the silver one?
Either one.
I'll go with gold one.
All right.
Go silver one.
Excellent. So, our last question. Oh, first, what are we drinking? Sorry, I jumped the gun here.
No, you're good. So, yeah, what we're drinking here today, I went with a whiskey, so I went with Teeling single malt. So, we're not going with a cocktail. This is a cocktail in and of itself. A lot of different flavors here in this whiskey. So, you've got a single malt, 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, influenced by 5 different wine casters. So a lot of different flavors playing with one another here. Symphony of different flavors. You've got a fully matured sherry single malt, and then finish as a port finish, Madeira, Cabernet Sauvignon, and white Burgundy. So a lot going on. So I like to enjoy this whiskey just on a large rock, just kind of really allowing those oils to kind of really leach out into the drink. You get a lot more of those kind of hidden esters, those fruit esters, with the addition of water. So, I love it. I love this on ice.
Yeah.
Sláinte.
Cheers. This is one of my favorite. This is my favorite Teeling. Like, this is just, as just the normal line, you can't go wrong with this bottle. Like, you should have, everybody should have this bottle at home. Like, this is.
Yeah, no, I people will say you don't add ice to whiskey or water to whiskey or anything like that, in whiskey tastings, and you've got, you send me your lovely tour glass here.
Yeah.
In a whiskey tasting, you obviously get drinking out of a lovely whiskey glass, and you're probably not adding water until you've at least tried it neat. But in a case like this, in a whiskey glass, a lovely day, lovely friends, I just want to enjoy my whiskey. I'm not looking for tasting notes. I'm just looking for something that I want to enjoy and wander off into the distance. This is what I'm going with, is single malt on ice.
I could not agree more. So cheers, my friend. All right. So our 5th and final question comes down to our flip of our coin. You can spin it, you can flip it, you can do whatever you want. Just be careful. It's really heavy, so it becomes a weapon if you throw it in the air. But the coin will decide the answer, and I think that as a barman that lives in Ireland, do you consider adding water to your whiskey a cocktail?
Ooh, well, I don't get a say. I just have to flip the coin.
Yeah.
Fuck no. There we go. Well,
excellent. Very nice. Well, Rob, that's 5 drinks down, 5 questions, not even midnight. Thank you so much for joining us.
We've got plenty of time. Let's drink more whiskey.
Excellent. Yes.